This is the Future of the Future show. I am your host, Mateo Berbejicio. Today's guest lives right at the intersection where strategy, technology, and organizational reality collide. Noureddine Oirkha is a strategy and transformation director at Deloitte, where he works with large, complex organizations on some of their most ambitious and most risky initiatives: digital transformations, global ERP implementations, and enterprise wide change programs. This is the kind of work where decisions ripple across thousands of people, dozens of systems, and years of execution. In this conversation, we will unpack what digital transformation really means when you strip away the marketing language, why so many large ERP and transformation programs struggle or fail, and why process discipline and fundamentals matter just as much as vision and outcomes. If you ever wonder why transformation is so hard and why it fails so often, or how to do it with more honesty and rigor, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Noureddine, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks to you for having me. Really excited for this conversation. Thank you.
Can you walk us through what you do today as a strategy and transformation director at Deloitte and what a typical day looks like for you?
Yeah, I will try. So I think if I want to summarize it, it's just being at the service of our clients, helping them navigate the complexity of transformation. Of course, they come with an idea, they come with a plan and a transformation, and then our role is to challenge those ideas and see how we can get the most of their investment, first of all, and how to structure this in order to set them in the best way possible for success.
In your words, what does digital transformation really mean beyond the buzzword, and how should organizations think about it?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I've always struggled to change it mainly for business. It has never been about technology. It's about how to transform business. Uh, People made it technology because it's technology based, but it's using technology for the service of improving the way we're doing business or delivering service to people, customer, would it be government institutions or private sector, etc. So technology came at a certain time, and we saw a very big evolution and progress in the way it showed up, and it progressed the last years, and it's helping shaping up some of the, let's say, the craziest or the wildest ideas that we had a decade ago. So now we're going faster, we're going better, more efficiently, and somehow some of the dreams that we had years ago now are helped by the implementation of this technology and facilitating the service that we're delivering to our people, to our citizens, and to our clients. So that's what's about. I think it's transforming the way we're living our day-to-day life, whether is it a business, a service, or an execution of our daily jobs within our organization.
I like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the hard problems that you find when you start doing this, right? When deploying large ERP systems across global organizations, what are the biggest problems you encounter and why are they so hard to solve?
So throughout time, I believe that the biggest or the challenge that we find or organizations find is, first of all, alignment, which leads to adoption. So it's never technology the problem, but it's an organization having that vision, but that vision is not going through the organization to reach the people who are, first of all, going to help implement that technology? That's first thing, because I always repeat that in transformation, you need to win hearts. If you miss that, then you're going to be facing big struggle. I explain. Boards and executives are aligned, and nobody can discuss the fact that it's going to bring value to people, to organizations, business. But when you don't take enough time to explain it to your people and alleviate the concerns that they might have about their jobs, about their roles, about the way they're doing their work every day, you will not get fellowship and uh, a fully on board organization across departments to help you implement it in the most efficient way. So that's the first thing. That's the biggest challenge across projects. Whenever there is a big challenge, there is a delay in execution, there is a miss in the solution. That's going to be around people's onboarding and alignment across organizations.
Do you believe that process matters just as much as the outcome in digital transformation, and why?
Process matter more than the outcome is the direct result of a good process implementation. If the process is not implemented the right way, if we don't take time enough to think about the process, and when I say process, is also thinking of how to improve it. And that's a great point that you bring, because we're not transforming business without transforming the way we are seeing processing. So technology or digital transformation must support the simplification and the modernization of all the processes. And then we need to have a strong thought about how do we maintain and make this process at the epicenter of everything we do in order to reach the outcome we want.
So, you said technology is never the problem. Why do you think some of these projects fail, and why do you think sometimes people deny or resist acknowledging that things are failing?
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see that in life, in projects, because here's what happens most of the time. We have that big project coming up, and we have a huge transformation. We do think about that shiny technology that came up, which makes sense. And it makes sense to everybody at a certain time. Why? Because the board and the executives see the value and see the efficiency that will bring from that. The people at first sight, they see that it's going to help them because they were complaining about some of the problems. They were complaining about not being able, for example, to streamline their operations, etc. So everybody is aligned. But here's what happens. People, most of the time, organization take this for granted. Change management and transformation must happen from day one to the day of go live and never stops. So what always happens is when the hype goes down and when we get into the middle of the work, transformation, we did the kickoff, we started working, and people within this project now start to realize that this is what I used to do. What am I going to do tomorrow if this is fully automated? So, well, I start to have a concern, and this concern is communicated within the organization. So, where is my role as a leader in order to keep an eye on that and keep alignment and anchor the culture of transformation throughout the journey, communicate to people and reassure them, because technology or transformation is about empowering people, and that message should never stop. It's never a one time thing. It's an ongoing process that must never stop. Whenever you take it for granted, I see it every single time. It hits at a certain time of the project, and people start to being reluctant to, yeah, no, but this is complicated. No, that's the process that we cannot transform. Well, no, it's just that we need to re-anchor people around what is our goal, facilitating your day-to-day life and making it easier and empowering you, not replacing. And that helps a long way throughout the journey.
So communication is key in change management, and the communication that's required for a successful change management is key along the way, and not just at the beginning, but as a repeated behavior all all along, all the time.
All the time and across the organization. Because one of the things that we miss most of the time when we look at where things failed at an organization and we're called to help with that is at what level you did communicate and what you did communicate the change. So, okay, the leadership is aligned. The project team might be aligned, and this is why they have been chosen. Okay, now what about your ambassador? And what about the people who are expecting the project in 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, but they don't know about the project? So I think it's streamlining this communication in order to make sure that your message hits every level in the organization and build that excitement around your new product before it arrives, rather than making sure you're aligned, your project team is aligned, your ambassadors are okay, but the people who are going to use your solution are not aligned or are much concerned. You reach that point when you have a problem of adoption by the end of the day. So this is kind of an end-to-end process, to your point, that needs to be watched out. I think, or I do really believe that it should be at the highest level of watch list when a leadership team is managing it.
Um, so what project management fundamentals do you always insist on, and how do methodologies like waterfall, agile, or hybrid approaches fit into digital transformation?
So 2 points in this. The first one, I would summarize it into 3 areas. It's framing your project, structuring the project, and let's say measuring the outcome. So when you frame, part of it is how you tell the story. This is what we talked about. Strategic alignment, who we are, who we want to become, and what's the value that we're trying to realize by asking ourselves, what is that problem that we're trying to solve? That is the main question. I mean, we don't, most of the time, like we do have transformation because we talk about automation, we talk about progress, but okay, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Because that what will define what is success. Success is never one thing. It depends on the business, it depends on who you are, it depends on what you do and what you are trying to serve. Is it efficiency or customer service or more sales? It depends. So you need to define that one thing or two things or three that you call success. From that, you put the structure around that. Is your organization today serving that end goal? For example, let's talk about the most updated subject, AI. So we sit in an organization and we talk about AI transformation. However, your data team is sitting somewhere under your marketing or your CFO team. So does that answer the question? You are trying to do an AI transformation. Data becomes key. You need to give that team a seat at the table at the highest level of organization in order to make the right decisions. However, every single decision that's going to be made by this team is going to be biased and driven by another. So you need to look at your structure, you need to look at your organization and set it to serve the goal and the success that we want to realize. And once we did this, it comes a time where we will define, well, how do we say that we have been successful? At what level? So in 3 months, in 6 months, should we reach 20%? Should we reach 30%? Should we just realize one of those goals and then we can just say, hey, we are at the right path and continue, etc.? Because a project is never kind of a straightforward line. Things will happen, business change, environment will change. And we need to be able to anchor ourselves around those three things. Say, did we serve the end goal that we have defined? Does it still make sense today? Do we have the right organization? And do we have the right numbers that help us say that we have been successful and convince our board and our people that we have reached that point and now we're going to hit the next step? Because it is a journey. It's never a one shot.
Very clear. How do big four consulting firms like Deloitte approach transformation differently than smaller boutique firms? What are the strengths and limitations of each?
I think when it comes to big four companies, structure and process is key. Of course, those are large companies that invested a huge amount of time in innovating in the way projects are delivered. The learning, the number of projects, the geographical scale gives them the possibility to invest and capitalize all this and say, okay, what are the common success points that we have seen? And then they come up with, this is the methodology right now that will lead us to a successful point every single time. And it's repeated, it's always, what's good also about this kind of company and the company I work for mostly that I look from inside is that this is always questioned. It's never a settled for granted. So you would always have a huge amount. This is what people don't see. But when you deliver a project, there is a huge amount of control and of quality follow-up behind the scene that make sure that, one, you follow the methodology, that there's no bad signs or any alerts or flags. And that's what makes the power, because you are at a certain time an expert, but you are in the middle of your project. Now you have the power of having other people who can take a step back and say, well, I don't agree with you. You can change to this. And this goes a long way in helping you being successful.
Digital transformation is like a headline phrase these days. How do you separate genuine value creating opportunities from just hype?
Yeah, let's take the example of AI. I think until a couple of months ago, we were in the hype period. Everybody was trying everything. So people come and say AI, even the companies themselves, they're trying, and you have the possibility to try. So you get every single tool in the market and you start trying it, and then organization come to you and you talk about AI. Okay, so what is it? I think it takes back things to again asking that question. What we are. Am I a legal company? Then what kind of AI am I using? And what business value I am creating? Because people talk about tools, they don't talk about value. And when people also talk about tools, they don't talk about the ecosystem, about the cost of maintenance and the cost of ownership. AI comes with the cost. Organizations think that I will implement AI and I will be able to generate whatever documents and outcome in 5 minutes. Okay, but at what cost? How much tokens are you consuming, how much data storage you need, how much energy you consume. Okay, when you put this in the balance now against what is your cost of ownership of data today, does it make sense? Well, this is the first question that needs to be asked before even talking about the AI transformation. Maybe for a small company, it doesn't make sense. Maybe automation can answer more the question for where the business is today. And that's our role, is to ask this question, okay, what's your use case? What is your business value? And again, it takes us back to the outcome and balance between the hype of technology, the cost that it comes with, and the cost of maintenance because you have OpEx also. So, what is the year to year spend as your database grows, your governance around it, your security around it? The data lake becomes huge. So, in 2 years, you're going to spend 3 times, 4 times more than that. Are you ready? And are you mixing this with, okay, I am going to make in my business 10 times more than that. So yeah, the business case makes sense. But now if you're going to make in the same business value but spending 4 times more, your margins are going to shorten. So it does make sense. And this is where people should start and make the difference between hype and real transformation. And I believe that now people start asking those real questions because they tried it and they saw the beginning of the cost of it because they didn't scale. The second thing is what I see is that now and until now, AI initiatives were department concentrated. Well, these are the initiatives that I would call hype because it never scales to business, because it has never carried a business strategy vision at the very beginning. So when you try to apply it to other departments, then it fails because it doesn't serve those goals. It needs to be discussed at the highest level of organization. Then yes, have a uh, let's have a concept with a single department, but build it in a way that it can scale and then see what are the results, fail fast, and go to either adjust or drop the project because again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't serve our end. I think we're reaching there. We're reaching there step by step as AI matures, as the hype goes down, and as people see the reality of it.
Do your team use AI a lot? How do you see it on your daily basis besides your clients?
So I think this is where we do benefit from the scale of the company. We have people who have been very much concentrated on it.
Yeah,
They build solutions and they also would clearly tell you where it makes sense to use it and where
right.
not. So a lot of that is happening. And yes, we have a huge department working solely on shaping AI vision and building AI solutions and trying them every single day. And even when we think about use cases, the idea is going back to that team, which is global again, and have people test and come back with feedback and say, okay, based on that, does it make sense to use it, or I am just because sometimes, for example, if I see I would use AI to generate, for example, a document, and I would be reviewing it. But if I put in myself, it takes an hour. If I generate it, it takes 5 minutes to think, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to generate. And then I have to go through every single line. And it takes me to the 1 hour or even more because I need to create that information. Well, I think it doesn't make sense. So let's go back to the real things that we need to do and use AI where it makes sense.
That makes sense. One last question. what advice will you give to leaders that are about to embark on a major transformation initiative, especially around managing people, expectations, and culture?
So the first thing that I do answer people when and leaders when they come to me is again in every transformation, whether is it AI or strategy, what are we looking to achieve? And if we're not clear about that, well, this is our starting. Our starting point should never be solution. And not longer than yesterday, I've been speaking to great leaders that I've been working with for a while, and they have that awesome vision. But I really love also how they're really open about hearing that. And in the same conversation, I had those questions like, okay, what do you think, Nor, as solutions that you can bring? And my answer was, I will refrain from giving you solutions. Let's talk about our business problem, and then we see what solution fits to that business problem. And as much leaders are open to hear that, as much the value will be great at the end, and everybody will be happy because those leaders now carry value. They're aligned and tied to their business outcome. It cannot fail them. Rather than just sometimes you're in the pace of it's like a race. Like the competition did AI and need to do AI and you put AI in there and it's not working. Well, that's a little bit of marketing, but then internally you're struggling. If you take a step back and have that clear conversation, I think that goes way longer than any other way. And it's not fancy, but I think those are the basics that every leader should keep, whatever transformation.
Thank you so much. This has really been an amazing conversation. I appreciate you. I hope we can stay in touch and talk about business, digital transformation, football. Congratulations
Absolutely.
again on winning the cup. And I look forward to doing this again in the future.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. Absolutely, it would be my pleasure to keep in touch. And just for football, by Sunday, Morocco is playing the final for the African Cup. So I know
Haha.
that you will just watch it. That's going to be a great game.
I know what to do on Sunday. Very good.
That sounds like a plan. Thank you very much.